In terms of No Code Lab, any favorite tools you recommend or you love to kind of recommend to startups to kind of kickstart and kick off their business right away?
Oh, do you know, there's so many. And in fact, actually, if they go on our No Code Lab website, No Code Lab, there's a number of different technologies in there they can take a look at. I always feel bad trying to recommend any because I always don't want to pull any out. But maybe one that people don't know about is Ninox. I think that's a really cool tool. Everyone's heard of Webflow and all of these tools, but I think Ninox is worth checking out. And we've also got an app builder called TAP, which is TAAP. That's another company that we're doing some really cool stuff with. The vaccine rollout program here in the UK is used the TAP platform to get that to market within weeks. So there's some really cool use cases in some of those no code lab projects that we're lucky enough to be part of. But yeah, reach out if you want to find out more.
Cool. We'll add those to the show notes. Check out ninox.com. So talking about Panintelligence. So you started off as the sales and marketing director, right? And then you tell us a little bit more. What was that process? You built the idea. I believe you purchased the IP, and then you launched, and eventually moved your way into the CEO position. How did that work out?
Yeah, so there was three of us that were sort of beavering away trying to turn this Panintelligence product into an independent sort of go-to-market tool for business intelligence and analytics. At the time, we were part of a fintech where we were sort of alongside technology for big lending systems and end-to-end transactional systems for banking. But we knew we had something that could be applied to lots of different sectors. And in this case, we were looking at the technology market and software vendor market because it's an area that I particularly knew well and could see a gap in. And we had the opportunity to buy the IP, the three of us. Ken, who's the CTO, Mike Cripps was the finance director. The three of us were really building this business out. Mike had that kind of MD, FD leadership role. I was leading on sales and marketing. And we just a combination of strengths that came together to really, we all played to each other's strengths to get it off the ground. Mike, a little older than myself and Ken, he'd made his money on the exit of PanCredit, which was the business we were part of. So he really helped us to get off the ground and stepped back from the business in 2019. And it was, prior to that, we'd always seen that transition of me moving into the CEO role as he sort of stepped back from the business and stood down in 2019. So there was always a kind of plan, and that's how it worked out. So, I can't say I feel very different today than I did when we first spun out the business. I'm still doing a lot of the same things I used to do then, just probably doing more of this actually, which is talking about the story of the business and being probably upfront. But mostly my day doesn't change so much.
Love it. And then where are you guys, just for our audience to kind of know where you are, where are you guys in terms of size today? And have you guys raised any external capital, or are you guys fully bootstrapped?
Yeah, so we raised Series A in 2019. We raised just short of $6 million US as part of our kind of growth and scale up capital to help us to expand internationally. So we were predominantly serving a kind of European and UK market, and now very much all over the world. A lot in the US actually now. A lot of SaaS vendors in the US that we work with. We're UK based predominantly. We have an office in Boston, Massachusetts. But yeah, we raised that, like I say, in 2019 as our first round of an investment to accelerate our growth. And, that's been a really good experience for us. We're certainly benefiting from bringing some additional kind of advice into the business and, a chairman who's been fantastic in helping us kind of grow up a little bit and focus our business model in the right areas and our go-to-market strategy. So.
Makes sense. And then can you share for our audience to understand how does the platform work specifically for SaaS companies, and what problems were you looking to solve in the market for SaaS founders?
Yeah, so we were a happy accident, really. The thing with the finance world is they have a lot of data and an awful lot of volume of data that is moving quite fast transactionally, and they don't like you to move that around. So when we built the software originally for banks, they were like, hey, don't move our data, please. And we've got a lot of users and we only want them to see what we want them to see. So make sure that, we've got a lot of kind of security that can enable us locking back what people can and can't do and can and can't see, but also, make sure we're not caching any data anywhere on any device. It's got to be compliant with all of these kind of data security in the UK PCI compliance. So it was built from the ground up for those sorts of requirements. But actually, if you think about software vendors, it's exactly the same. They've done the hard job of collecting all of this data and putting it into their infrastructure. They've usually got a lot of it, and they have lots of users that need to make sure only see the data you want them to see, and often a multi-tenanted environment. So the strengths of our product really fit very, very well into that software market. And actually, what we saw, because we were a software builder building it for ourselves, right? We'd done the job of going, we couldn't find anything that met our requirements, so we built it for ourselves. But that was the same. And actually, we recognized that what we'd done for ourselves was the same problem other people had. And actually, because of the way we'd architected the product around the way in which the deployment, infrastructure security, the embedding, the white labeling, it's not just about what you can do at the front end. It's as much about how it integrates within a technology stack that was really different. And that's where we started. And obviously, over the last 5 years, we've focused entirely on that embedded space in the cloud. So, we deal with a lot of the things that really matter to a SaaS vendor. It's about enabling their roadmap to be accelerated on data analytics, not just data visualizations and dashboards, but reported, scheduled, alerted, data-driven, alerts and notifications and reports, whether that's PDF or a CSV or just even a web services call, setting something off like a trigger or a notification. So, a scheduler that's driving insights out to people, self-service dashboard. But more importantly, people are trying to work out how they deal with kind of prediction and machine learning. And often SaaS vendors don't have that capability. And in the world we were in finance, scorecarding and predicting people that are most likely to pay back a loan, which is the world that we were in, that's been around for a long time. So we've been doing sort of machine learning engines for 15 years. All we've done is made that a self-service layer that software vendors can configure very easily as many predictive models as they like, and as new data comes in, kind of score that and then trigger and drive nudge alerts or just present a list of decisions that people can make, frankly. So we've made it super simple to do 3 things, hindsight reporting, real-time live data visualizations, and prediction that any user can do for themselves. So they don't have to rely on their dev team doing it. Their end users can do it for themselves. So, I think it's been an interesting space to be in. But I don't think if we'd have had that early customer base of fintech, we would be, we'd be where we are now. I think it really helped us to be different, and it certainly stood us very well. Yeah.
So we talk about accelerating the expansion revenues and also improving retention, and also standing out from your competition. Why would you say, like using business intelligence, reporting, analytics is, important for SaaS founders? At what stage should they consider using it, and how can they truly leverage the potential themselves? Like, if you give kind of tactics, if I'm a SaaS founder looking at this, how can I really start using this and driving my company?
Yeah, we sort of deal with a number of different stages of sort of SaaS growth. So very early stage, where there's sort of new entrants or maybe challenger SaaS technologies, we can be used as a way to differentiate from the incumbent SaaS players. So having things like prediction or machine learning as a differentiator can really help them to stand apart. So sometimes it's less about helping existing customers drive value, but actually about differentiating their proposition. So we often find with those earlier stage companies, it's about their proposition. It's about their go-to-market kind of differentiation. Are we an extra crown jewel for them, right? If they're a little bit more mature and they've got a lot of customers, it often is about those key customers that they may be at risk of losing. So it becomes a retention strategy to enable them to get better access to their data quickly, easily for themselves without being frustrated that it's kind of locked away within that SaaS platform. So it can be as much to do with retention and also at that stage, because you can license it to be able to give customers a different experience, you can start to create expansion revenue opportunities by unlocking self-service capabilities or advanced analytic capabilities that you can then create upside revenues from and expansion revenues. So it depends on what the compelling reasons are for the SaaS vendor. Sometimes it's retention, sometimes it's expansion, sometimes it's both, and sometimes it's all 3, right? Competitive differentiation on top of that. There can be all sorts of drivers. And it's not, it's easy for us to help people at whatever stage they're at. The technology has been designed that it's a usage-based model. So if you're small, you're paying for the value you drive from it. It doesn't, we've got a framework of pricing that really enables SaaS vendors to align to their unit metrics, and we just sit and fit with those, which helps us sort of scale with them in a way that they can completely forecast, model out, and feel is directly attributed to the value, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So you have all kind of SaaS founders that use this early stage, mid market, enterprise, or do you have a kind of focus that you see that gets kind of the highest ROI from using it?
Yeah, so I would say that SaaS vendors that are in that kind of Series A to B phase probably drive the greatest value, because they're able to create some competitive differentiation as part of that next stage of growth, but also they've got enough customers that they can use it for both expansion and retention. That point where you've probably had enough customers with you, you may start to, there's a focus on retention, but at the same time, there's also a real need to drive expansion. That can be quite a really useful point, especially when people are moving between phases of fundraising. By enabling this technology, we can have an impact on retention and expansion, right? And show value for that. So I would say that's a good phase for us. But then, we have people at all stages. But I would say that kind of Series A to B to C, maybe, probably now. Very different here in the UK. A Series A is very different to a Series A in the US and in other territories. So it's a very gross generalization, I think.